good evening, everyone that is going to tune in very soon. We are back here again. I always say we're going to change that countdown theme, but I don't think we
Nah,
are.
never change it.
Good. I like
Because
it. It's great.
Because it's just the vibes that it brings. Like if we do like our own countdown and have it to do with the show and stuff, it just won't be the same.
At least we gotta at least keep the song of it. I like the beat for some reason. It's so simple, but it's so clean.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, you can see I'm not on my own, which is always good. Devon, how are you?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Yeah, all good. Ryan, this is we have spoke off stream, and this is 3 out of 3. He did go out again last night. And he did go drinking. I think it's more disappointing now if you come on a show and you haven't been drinking.
It would be. The thing is, it was a 21st birthday. Like I can't not drink at a 21st.
That's
birthday.
true. Wait, isn't the drinking age over there like 18 though?
Yeah,
it is 18, but it's my brother's 21st birthday. It's still a big age, like to become 21. I don't know why it's so big in the UK to become 21, but it's still just a big birthday.
In the UK, it's 18 because obviously you can drink. 21, I'm not really sure why, but 21
you
seems
to go to America and drink.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, it's the only reason we celebrate so hard is because at 21 we can drink. And, like, if it was 18 would be like the best birthdays you have.
But I suppose at least when we're 21, then if we go on holiday to America, we can drink them, because I know there's people that have literally turned 18, gone over on a family holiday to America, and then they've not been able to drink on holiday.
No,
because
which is super illegal.
But you could have come over when you were 18 to the UK, and you could have enjoyed your birthday and got drunk in the UK instead.
Yeah, that's the dream. But no, we have a lot of rules against drinking under the age of 21 here. It would get a lot of businesses destroyed. So
it's weird though, because like the way I think of it, like when I actually turned 18, I've been drinking since I was like 15.
yeah, we have on parks.
Yeah. So by the time I turned 18, I wasn't actually bothered. It was just that I could go out and buy myself a pint or buy myself a drink. I wasn't bothered at 18 the fact that I could now legally drink, because I've been drinking for a long time before that.
The unfortunate real history behind it is that back in the 70s it was like 18, or like the 60s or something. But then a bunch of people started driving more, and a bunch of teenagers started getting into accidents while being drunk. And they wanted to prevent that. So they started it to be like, all right, well, people are more mature at 21. They'll definitely not drink and drive as much when they're 21. And that's when they moved the age up.
Really worked out.
In America, though, I've noticed obviously there's a lot more younger drivers in America, because you guys learn a lot younger than what we do. I think when can you start learning to drive in America?
Probably like 15 or 16. Yeah, then you get your temps at 16. So most people start driving around 15.
17 here, Sam.
16, I think. It's either 16 or 17.
When can you get a license? I don't know when you can get a license, what age you have to be.
Literally, as soon as you get your temps, you can get your license.
Well, in America as well, the standard of the driving test in America to the standard of driving test in the UK is also very different.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you could do a few turns, drive up a few roads, and then you passed in America. Here, you have to do 45 minutes of solid driving where you don't do any majors.
And how does it work with over there in America, like with driving lessons? Do you pay for driving lessons, or do you have it like driver's ed classes in like school? Because I know
they used to, but most of those are like programs that got taken out.
Oh, well, okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah. It's like home economics. You used to have that, but now you don't.
Okay. I'm not too sure. I don't really know how it works.
Oh, so many states in America actually allow you to apply for a learner's permit once you're between 14 and 16.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. And
Sounds
then in
about
comparison to the UK, it's either 16 or 17. You can start driving a car when you're 17.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, you know, again, you add alcohol on top of that, it's like, you know, it's not it's not good. You know, America's a lot more driving centric, but also we have a lot more alcohol play. You know, I feel like we have a lot of bars. There are
Yeah.
a lot of bars here.
But we do have a lot of pubs in the UK, though. We do have a
I
lot of
know,
pubs.
but it's like a new bar will open up. I probably got like 5 bars in my like down the street from me right now, within walking distance.
Probably got
Yeah.
about 3. Probably about 3 in walking distance from me at the moment. But
Just people like drinking
the
here,
thing
bro.
is, though, the thing is, in the UK, people don't actually need to be drunk to be a bad driver. The bad drivers all the time anyway.
oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So literally, it's not how when I go out and drive just on a normal drive, it's never about my ability to drive. It's about how stupid the other people are whilst I'm driving along. Like that's always the case.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Honestly, it's why I personally hate driving. I have pretty big driving anxiety, so I
too.
don't like to do it. But you know, it's one of those things. Sometimes you have to, but it sucks.
I can't drive. I don't know how.
Personally.
I was in a crash like years ago, and it knocked my confidence basically, and I just never got back on the horse and started learning, which I should have done really. But I don't mind using public transport. I'm quite used to it by now, and my job, I can get there on the bus, and it's like
Yeah.
2 minutes walk from the bus station, so it's not too bad.
Hey, I feel it.
I would want to like learn to drive is if I have kids in the future and stuff like that, because it is handy for like when you're dropping them off at school and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
that's about it, really.
I personally just hate most things about it.
Yeah.
It's insane.
On the flip side, I wouldn't have a job if I couldn't drive. So
there you go.
So yeah, in case you have tuned in thinking
Sam's like a professional driver over here. He's like, oh guys, I do that for a living, actually.
Podcast.
I know. Welcome to the driving podcast, Driving Dogs.
If you've just tuned in,
Wrestle and Drive.
You are hearing this correctly. We are talking about driving in the UK and US. We will go on to the wrestling in due course, but sometimes we go a little bit off tangent.
Hey, this is part of the pod, you know, it's the fun.
Kyle's not here and I have control of these lives. I can do what the hell I want.
Boom.
He'll watch that.
We're having a good time, boys. We're having a good time.
He's going to watch that back later and message me about that. I know that for sure. A lot has kind of happened this week. I have the most notes I ever have about a Raw that I've ever done.
Really?
One of the best Raws I've seen in many, many years. It
was like the Raw after SummerSlam, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got like 6 or 7 pages.
It was a belter.
So
my mind is slightly hazy, so I gotta think back. I know I watched that. I'm like 99% sure I watched that whole Monday Night Raw. So
yeah, it was one of the best ones. Like normally, I skip through to like bits of importance. So like if a match is on, just so I get
the first hour was like commercial free. Yeah, I watched it. Okay.
Normally so if there's a match, because most matches on weekly shows aren't great, so I just kind of see who started the match so I can type my notes, such and such as fought, I don't know, and then I'll skip to the end of the match to see who's won so that I can follow it up. So that's just a little into my notes process. But to be honest, I did near enough watch the whole. The
opening match was the guy who's with isn't he like part of Imperium or something?
Yeah.
It's that guy, and then he also went against I can't remember who he went against, but I know that match. Oh, Sheamus. It was Old Boy and Sheamus, they had like a straight back and forth for like 20 minutes. It felt like an AEW match. I was like, what is going on?
To be fair, though, they are giving Sheamus a bit more of a push, which
Bro,
I
think that's the part that confused me the most, because I was like, why is Sheamus getting this much of a match right now? Like, of all people, I see why the other guy would, because I'm not saying he's a jobber or anything like that, but he do feel like he's there to have like entertaining matches against people, but still have them come out on top. That just feels like that's what his thing is right now, as far as his role in the company. But Sheamus is kind of like, it feels like he should be in that same role where he should be that guy who's like, all right, I used to be really big, I was a champ, so if you can beat me, now this is a good path for you going forward to being able to beat other people. But they just gave Sheamus the rub like he's about to go in and win a title soon. Like, bro, what are you having this great match
on a banger after banger after banger after banger?
We say this, but I don't actually think a match between him and Gunther would actually be that bad.
I know I'd be happy with it,
but I just wouldn't expect him to win. I wouldn't have any expectations of anybody else but Gunther winning.
No, the thing is, he doesn't have to win, but it's just a good match to build Gunther's like title reign up. They'll put a good match on.
He's still extremely talented on the mic and stuff. Like his promo work, still really sick.
Oh yeah,
like,
he is good.
He's always been so good, like always.
Well, he's an actor, isn't he? He was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
He is a great actor. You can't deny that. Yeah, he was in the second one. What was he like, Bebop, or which one was he?
He was
Rocksteady,
Bebop or Rocksteady, one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, oh my gosh, Sheamus.
So that's the reason why he got the title. He won the title when he beat Roman. When he cashed in the Money in the Bank on Roman Reigns, because he'd done that film. That's the reason they pushed him. Because he was like, "Oh, we'll give him the title because he's just got this new film coming out."
That's It'd be crazy, a good idea because he wasn't even like the major part of the film. It was like
he wasn't. No. It had Stephen Amell in it.
I think for me, it was like Sheamus is kind of he's old. Like, let's be honest here. He's like in his 40s, and I was watching it, and I was like, I remember when Sheamus was young, because I am now getting old. Like, I'm 33, so like I remember watching this like 15 years ago and seeing Sheamus, and I was like, I could see it back then. They should have gave him, more pushes back then. But now it feels like, all right, Sheamus, I didn't even know you were still here, buddy. Like, good to see you again. You're a good, great wrestler, but get out of this. Get out of these 20-minute matches, bro. You're too old for that.
I got to meet him before Money in the Bank. He's quite a nice guy in person, to be fair. He's really friendly with the fans and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I had a bit of a conversation with him. He basically, there was a little kid that just missed him and stuff like that. So we shouted him and said, "Oh, you missed this little lad," and he said, and the security were like, "We got to go," and he was like, "No, I've got to make sure I got this photo with this kid outside." And he came back outside and got a picture with the kid. So it's like he makes the time for the fans, which is nice, I think, to be fair, the guy. But I think that's always. Sorry, what are you saying?
Go on. Now, when he was really big, I was still in like secondary school. So like I was like 15 or 16. So fast forward.
This is proving my point. Exactly.
Fast forward like 10 or 11 years, maybe.
And when I remember him before he was big.
Around. How big? When was it at the bar? Like, that was at least. God, that was at least 5 years ago, wasn't it? The bar? 6 years ago? With Cesaro? How long's Cesaro not been in WWE anymore? Because he's been gone for a while, isn't he? Surely. He's been gone for a couple of years. It just makes me feel really like old in a way and like the bar was like 5, 6 years ago, because it shouldn't have been that long ago, if you get what I mean. Because it was at least about 5.
Again, if you've just tuned in, you will have heard about driving in the UK and US and Sheamus for about 7 minutes. So
at least we're back on wrestling here. We're actually talking about wrestling.
if you come to find out what's happened in the last sort of week or so in wrestling, probably switch off for another 10 or 15, then maybe come back. Or
No. Stay here for the. You guys want to hear this, because I know you guys are huge Sheamus fans, and I know you guys enjoyed that 30-minute match that Sheamus had on Monday Night Raw last week. I know you guys were like, more Sheamus, please. I need more slaps to the chest back and forth until one of your chests bleed, because I know it was super cool on SummerSlam, but let's do it again with, slightly lesser talents on Raw. People will love that. They'll love seeing two pale people slap each other's chests so bad that they start bleeding, and they're only looking so red because they're both the palest people you could possibly find in the company.
To be honest, the lighting I'm in at the minute is making me look about as white as him. Like,
bro,
I look really, really white.
Sheamus is one of those guys. He's almost see-through. It's kind of. I feel like it's easy to just make his chest like super red from slaps. Like, I don't know why wrestling has been doing that so recent. Maybe I don't know if it's a recent thing or not, but recently they have really been going into heavy chest slaps back and forth. And it's not for like a minute or two. It's literally for like, it's ongoing for like 10 plus slaps to the chest. But I don't understand it.
When you got ginger hair, you're normally quite white anyway. Your skin's quite pale, isn't it? I've heard.
Yeah, because you don't tan very well as a ginger person. You just kind of stay that color the whole time.
Yeah,
or go pink.
Or just burn. So there you kind of three options. So far you've learned about the UK driving age and the US driving age. What happens if you have ginger hair and a little bit on the background on Sheamus? So you can't say you can't say you don't learn anything on these streams, that's for sure. So as we spoke about Sheamus quite a lot, we'll just go away from him for a couple of minutes because eventually he does come into the show, so we will be getting back onto him. So the show started with Ludwig Kaiser coming out, kind of introducing Gunther. It made me laugh because do you know like how when Seth Rollins comes out, for example, he goes, "Oh, it's Monday Night Rollins" and all that stuff, and it's quite normal. So like introducing himself is like part of his character.
Yeah.
So Gunther just stood in the ring, got on his mic, and went, "My name is Gunther," and I went, "Well, obviously, like
it might have been their first episode of Raw. You don't know."
That's true. That might have been the first time ever watching him. The people are like, "Who is he?"
No, but the thing is, even before then, you would have known it's Gunther because that Ludwig Kaiser was in the ring saying, "Oh, I'm going to introduce you to the ring general," and then Gunther.
Yeah, I was going to say also the little name thing that comes up every time people come up.
He's already told you that Gunther's coming out. His name's come up, and then he gets into the ring, goes, "My name is Gunther," and I'm like,
"But what if they missed all of that?" They were like, "Who's this guy standing in the ring right now?" "My name is Gunther." Perfect timing, actually. I love that. I love this guy.
So I'm going to read you from my actual notes because this was gold for me. I've put "My name is Gunther," and then I've put "no shit." Blows his own trumpet for a couple of minutes, and then that I'm really starting to hate his promo work.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys think of that. For me, before I pass it on, for me, it's just kind of getting very samey. So, like, he'll come into the ring, he'll get booed, and he'll go, "Oh, well, I don't care if you boo me. I'm this, I'm the longest into an antler." And it just goes on, and he has the same sort of script. Whereas normally when you're a heel, you banter with the crowd. So they'll go, "Oh, you're shit." And then they'll go, "Well, the city's shit." Like, they normally like banter from each other. Whereas Gunther doesn't really take into account the booing. He just stands there and gives him the same script again. I just find it a little bit boring.
I can see
That's
it.
why. That's why I'm sad that Logan Paul isn't still champ, because he was really good at working the crowd. Yeah.
I mean, I personally am not super sad about it. I like Logan Paul as a wrestler. I just think that title, if it wants to have a little bit more weight to it, needs to go to a person who's going to be able to defend it more often. You know, it's like
Yeah,
you
I
want to
do
see
think it's
it
good
on
time to
SmackDown
end.
sometimes.
I do feel it felt like a natural end to his title reign as well, to be honest.
Yeah, it felt like a good title reign for him.
Oh, definitely. Like it's not. They've given him a long enough title reign so that he's in the wider picture now. Like if they
Yeah.
gave him it and then give him it straight back, like and then lost it straight away.
I mean,
he's
my
actually
only,
had it for a long
my
amount of
literal
time.
only Logan Paul complaints are that he doesn't wrestle enough, and that
Well-
I want to see more. Like I want to see more of his matches, and I just want to see maybe a better finisher. Outside of that, I literally have liked every single Logan Paul match I've ever seen.
He wasn't. I don't think he was meant to lose it though. He wasn't originally meant to lose it. There was actually a tweet that WWE 2K, the video game and stuff, put out, and basically saying the title reign now still continues, and they had to put a tweet up after it saying only joking, LA Knight has won, sort of thing. But I think something may have happened in the middle of the match, because I think why would you tweet Logan Paul, like say that he won, and then like have to like recorrect themselves about 15-20 minutes later?
See, I don't really know what people expect, because you know that Logan Paul is bigger than just wrestling. So he's got all of his other stuff that he does. So it's actually not possible for him to be there week in, week out. So I don't know what people expected of him, because they should know that he's got his podcast. He'll be
He's got a business to run.
Sponsors all the time. Like
Exactly.
have other bits to do. Like
he got to make sure. He got to make sure WWE got like 5 Prime logos in a ring at all times.
Yeah,
that's part of him.
I think though what he made up for, like him not being in, like showing up on Raw and SmackDown and stuff all the time and stuff like that. He made up for it like promoting outside, because he used to carry that title belt with him everywhere, and he used to have it out in his podcast. He had it. Well, I know it's not the best example, but he even had it when he was like interviewing like Donald Trump and stuff, like, which is quite a mad thing, like the US title being like in the same room as Donald Trump while he's getting interviewed and stuff like that, and taking pictures with the US title. It's not. I think it's just a lot of. He did a lot of promotion with the WWE stuff in other ways, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people. I imagine they've got a lot of people watching the products now as well, just from knowing that he's on it. So like all of his fans that are like of an age group, maybe my age group, so like late 20s, and then you even go into like earlier 20s, lower than that. So all of those people potentially will have followed his journey into WWE and then through it, and now they're probably invested. So
yeah, they'll purchase the pay-per-views.
Yeah, because I think anybody that's, to be honest, I think if you want to start watching wrestling, now's the best time to do it for like forever.
Or some people may be like, "Hey, I hate Logan Paul. I'll buy to see him lose."
That's
and
what
then
I was
they
about to say.
they had to see him win, and they had to watch WrestleMania and watch him win. They had to watch all those other things and watch him win, and they were like, "Oh, maybe SummerSlam he'll lose," and they finally got their dream. And then WWE is just loving it every time. Like, yeah, pay more. We'll bring him back.
That's his brother's whole business. Like, so his brother's obviously, as we know, is boxing. So, so his whole business plan is people watching him wanting to lose, and they come back every time in the hope that he's going to lose, and they come back every time, and then he gets another 100,000 buys or whatever, like, and they always come back. So he's built his boxing career from people hating him. Like
it's a good strategy. Be honest,
it's a great strategy. That's why heels are so powerful in wrestling, because they're hated that much that they get a bigger reaction most of the time than the best baby faces.
Well, that's why Logan became was such a good heel as well, just because of he was already hated, wasn't he? He was already hated by so many. Like that when he came in as a face, everyone was like, "Don't believe it, stop being a face. Like, there's no point." And then once he became a heel, I think people started like appreciating him a bit more, and like his wrestling, like because he couldn't I don't think he could naturally do a promo as a good guy because he's just not a good guy. Is he? He's a very he's very sneaky with a lot of the things he's done in the past, and that there's all that stuff where
I don't think he's necessarily. I don't think he is necessarily a like outside of wrestling. I don't think he's necessarily a horrible person. It's a weird one.
Yeah, no, he's not a horrible person.
No,
but
I think he's just got a way of saying things that always makes him controversial. So, he knows exactly what to say to get a reaction, I think. Which is why
what it was.
It's why people go, "Oh, he's a bit of a knob, though, isn't he?" And I'm like, "Well, kinda."
Yeah.
So that's what it was. That's why I heard. That's what I heard online actually. That he lost the title because he made a comment about that the trans woman
yeah,
winning
I did see that
boxing or something, and I think that's why they might have taken the title off him because they were like, it's too controversial, all that stuff. Like, we need to take this title away from him. And
plus, that got disproven, so it's like also.
I was about to say when you said it before, and it's glad you said it because I was in my head. I was thinking, I'm sure he put a tweet out that wasn't very good, and I was trying to work out what it was about. And I was like, so yeah, it does make sense now. Yeah, he did put a tweet out that got him in some shit, basically.
Yeah,
he always does that. He never. If you look back again, I don't want this to go off topic completely, but if you look back through his whole YouTube career, he's always done stuff that just seem completely stupid. If you're in a position of power that he's in, like throughout his whole career, I think he's one of these people that he'll have, because when you get that big, you've got a management team and you've got lots of people around you. So they'll be telling you, right, if you're going to say that, you can't. You're going to get... But I think he must be one of those people that just says, no, I'm going to do it anyway. Like,
or he just hires his friends and they just don't even say anything.
Yeah, potentially. So, yeah, it's weird, though, because I don't really know. Saying that he's had a good title, which I think he has, he's done himself a lot of favours. I don't really know where he gets put back in the picture. Like, it doesn't make sense. It maybe makes sense for him to go against LA Knight again, but then he's going to lose that because they're not going to give him it back. You can't just put him into, like, Gunther and, like, Damian Priest, that sort of. You can't put him in that time.
I think leave him now, bring him back maybe like Royal Rumble or something, and then have him maybe win the Money in the Bank next year, because I feel like he'd be really interesting with the Money in the Bank briefcase, because Logan Paul coming out and like he's the type of guy where his music hits, he's gonna come out and cash in. He'd be there winding people up, and everyone online is gonna be like, "Oh, Logan Paul better not cash in and on this champion and stuff like that." It's gonna cause a lot.
Yeah, they'd probably pay for every pay-per-view just to see which one he's gonna cash in on.
It's gonna cause a lot of heat. I think that's the best thing to give him, because he'll be sat there on this podcast being like, "I might cash in tomorrow."
That makes sense, actually. Like,
it's so good.
Because if he's Money in the Bank, that means he really does only have to wrestle on pay-per-views anyway, which they kind of are already doing. Then he only has to wrestle every couple of pay-per-views whenever he just wants to be like, oh, maybe I'll cash it in today.
Yeah,
brings the briefcase on all his podcasts forever, and he does all that stuff. And yeah, that actually is a pretty dope idea, because again, he's not going to be the week-to-week wrestler. I don't think we're ever going to get that from him. So you got to put him in positions where he doesn't have to do it. You know, Money in the Bank, he'll do a great. I know he'll be great in a Money in the Bank. He'll be flipping off stuff, diving, all the stuff. You know, after that, it's kind of smooth sailing until he decides to actually cash it in. And if he waits a WrestleMania, it's just, what do you do? Cash it in and have him lose is my opinion. I think you cash him in, you have him cash it in, like you have him wait, but then he cashes it in at a big time, but then he loses because you don't want him as world champ. Like,
see, I think he is he is one of those people like a Drew McIntyre that does well when all the cards are against him. So like his kind of promo work is all based off kind of, oh, the world's against me, everybody's against me because I'm a YouTuber. They don't really like who I am. They don't think I'm a proper wrestler. Like I think that's where some of his best work was, when he just, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to kind of look at it, isn't it?
I will say he's the very best celebrity wrestler ever.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Like,
very easily that well.
They've had a lot of people come out and try to do celebrity spots. He's the only one who's translated this well, and it feels like, why were you doing anything but wrestling before? Like, you should have just been a wrestler instead of a YouTuber, and then we could have just had you fighting. Like, you could have been like a modern day Randy Orton type of guy right now, but you decided to go down the path of being a YouTuber and make millions, so we don't have to try to give you hundreds of thousands to be a wrestler. Like,
But I think it's also good that he's had this history on YouTube and stuff like that and come into it, because obviously he's brought more, like from YouTube side, he's brought more fans over, and
yeah.
I think it makes him, all this hatred and stuff people had for him before, it brings it over to the wrestling. Like, so that's why he's such a good heel, because people already hate him and people want to watch.
And as talented as he is, I don't think they would have used him properly if he was a natural wrestler anyway. They probably would have made it so his career was only like, half as much. It's just a little too much. Like, I don't know. They wouldn't have made his career as good as it is now. They would have ruined him somehow.
Yeah, I was really pleased that the Randy Orton came out. So Randy Orton's music hit after Gunther was talking a little bit, and as soon as he come out, my instant reaction was, now that would be a match I wanted to see. Randy Orton and Gunther sounds like a dream. So Gunther then says, so basically in his promo, he says, oh, nothing catches me off guard. I can see what's going to happen. Randy Orton came in and he went, well, I have to say I'm wrong, because that did catch me off guard. Randy said, I wanted to come out and congratulate you, but that's not really my style. But that title does look mighty damn fine hanging over your German shoulders. Fact check here. Gunther is not from Germany at all. He's from Austria. Completely different countries.
Yeah.
A little history lesson. You've had everything on this channel. So a little history lesson is that during the Second World War, Germany took over Austria and made it their own. But as soon as the war finished, they then broke away from Germany and became their own thing. So that was between the 1940s and the 1950s that happened. So it's a heck of a long time.
Do we know how old Randy is, though? Because he may be one of those guys. Back in my day, that was still part of Germany. Was Randy a teenage boy in the 1940s?
See, the thing is that really gets me is that if I was Gunther, and so it's basically like somebody like me or Ryan going into a wrestling ring and somebody saying, you know what, I'm going to fight in your hometown of Italy. If somebody said that to me, I would say, well, I'm not from Italy. I'm actually from the UK. But Gunther just kind of stood there and went, as much to say, yes, I am from Germany. I was born in a
Do
completely
people just think he's German?
What?
Do people think he's German though?
No, I don't think so. I think
Oh.
everyone was
What was his name before? Was it Walter? Walter before?
Because like, what if like I don't know, like is something he doing German that like associate like can like I guess the accents are kind of similar if you're from America, but like outside, I didn't know where he was from. I just thought he was. I honestly, I just had him as vaguely Eastern European.
But
like,
it's not like the thing is, it's not even like if it's not like they're even in different states in America. You could kind of get that. Like 2 different states is still the country of America. It's just 2 different states. Whereas Austria and Germany are completely different countries. So I'm trying to imagine a map here. So one's here, and then one's here at the corner of my screen, and then one is way above my ceiling. Like it's completely different. Like it's relatively in the same sort of place on the map, just very diagonally across from one or the other. So it's really weird. So again, a big corporation like WWE, I thought would have checked these sort of things and told Randy Orton that he's from Austria, not Germany.
Man, they probably did, but he probably forgot because you know Randy, he'd be
took
over
a lot of
there smoking on the devil's lettuce.
That's it, 100%. Don't worry, I'll just pay it. I'll just pay it off. And here's
you over there hanging out with KO. You know they're getting stoned. I don't. You know, come on, bro.
But see, the thing is, I was because then I sort of doubled down on myself because I thought, right, what things do Austria and Germany have in common? So I was thinking, like, is there anything where they've done an actual boo-boo? But that was the only comparison that I could make, that Austria was once part of Germany.
I was going to say, does he ever have like the eagle as his symbol?
No.
Gunther? He never uses like an eagle?
No.
No war eagle? Okay, well, that would probably be like the thing. If I saw him do that, I'd be like, what is he, German or something?
I think if anyone was watching that segment of Raw from Austria, I think they would have never watched WWE again, because as I looked into it, because obviously I went onto a deep dive then, Austrians don't particularly like the Germans as such. They hold a grudge from that period of time. Where, as you would. I would hold a grudge if I was Austria, to be honest. If somebody just walked into my back, it's a little bit like this, isn't it? If somebody just walked into your house and going, yeah, I've just walked into your house, I'm taking over everything, I'm taking your dog, your wife, your kids, I own this place now. Basically what it is.
Well, you know what?
It's a weird one.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, considering we both live in countries that are pretty much imperialist countries. You know, sometimes you just can't help that. You know, sometimes you just go to places and you like them. You know, sometimes you go to places and you just like, I love the resources here. I wish I had them back in my country. And then you bring them back. Now, what happens years after that is not things you think about in the moment. Just, you know.
I think I've just been put straight back down to earth, because I realise my own country's history and the reason we are where we are at the minute.
Exactly.
Over a million.
That's what I said. As one imperialist country to another, I think we should look slightly just turn our heads to this situation. Because you know, it'd be a little hypocritical if we, as America and the UK of all countries, start talking about, oh man, it's so bad to just go into people's countries and take things. Like, you know, I'm just gonna look this way. You know, I'm just gonna look this way as I don't think about Manifest Destiny and what that meant for Native Americans. I'm not gonna think about the state of Indiana.
It's happened within the UK, like a lot of, it's weird, like Wales, Ireland, and Scotland have a big hatred for England. It's weird, but that's because of history. Like, it's it's a weird one. Like, there's a lot of people in Wales and Scotland and stuff like that. When England were in the final of the Euros, or England are in the final of anything, people from Wales and Scotland and Ireland and stuff want like Spain or something to win.
But on the other aspect, like I see this a lot in terms of the UK. For some reason, like in England, we hate Scotland for some reason, and if they go into any like football competitions, we just want them to lose. And actually, I don't get it because I'm like, do you know what? Like, if you give me a choice between Scotland winning the Euros and Germany winning the Euros, I know that I'd rather Scotland win it. Like, so I don't. Yeah, the logic.
There's a lot of history there. There's got to be history there because I've got like there's people in my family, like my parents and stuff, like they like when England are in the final and stuff, they don't want England to win and stuff. But I don't know, maybe it's just the old generation as well.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I do think it's weird, isn't it? Because like things are like grudges are held for so long in terms of like history and stuff. We hold like grudges for like thousands of years for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, you got it's like I don't even know what the thing is because I know in America there's different states that like have quote unquote rivalries with each other for different reasons, but most of that's pretty dumb. I don't know if anybody's gonna hold grudges about it for thousands of years, but we're not that old of a country, so some people have held some dumb grudges for a couple of 100 years about some stuff, but it's not like too crazy.
Yeah. So again, we've gone off on a massive tangent. You've had driving lessons, history lessons.
We're going over it. So social economic. You heard imperialism. How to turn the other way when your country does imperialism.
in a minute, we basically may as well do a carbon copy of some of your streams, Devon, and watch a video alongside it.
Hey, there we go.
History between Austria and
in Germany.
So yeah, so basically, he says this bit was a bit weird because Randy Orton simping Gunther was something that I'd never seen. So he said that title does look mighty damn fine hanging over your German shoulders. A little bit weird. It's not really Randy Orton-esque to me. The legend killer.
Sounds like he's glazing him up there. Like he is glazing him up.
Real good on your German shoulders there.
Can I touch them shoulders, Gunther?
Can I touch them? Let me touch the belt.
But that moment is the moment that we've had for our whole entire lives as wrestling fans. Everybody that's in the same room while you're watching the wrestling going, well, what you watching this shit for? It's crap, this. So that literally what everybody would have said at that moment. Like, what is this?
What's going on here?
Yeah. Turn to channel 902 on Sky back in the day.
Devin's like, what do you mean by that?
I'm gonna say I didn't watch. I didn't have access to Sky TV as a kid.
So Sky TV, it used to be the running joke on Sky TV on the nines of the. So you type in like to get a channel, it would be like 101. That would take you to like BBC One, for example.
Okay.
But on the nines was the channels as a child that you shouldn't have been watching.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like when you tripped and fell and you typed it in, like, oh, what a shame. Oops. Easily done.
Yeah, definitely didn't do this on purpose.
Yeah, but then you realize
the wrong show.
Yeah. Then you realise you've done it when you're at a family meal and you're like, oh yeah, that's
sorry, I'm just a teenage boy.
That thing, so that stuff with Gunther and Randy is like it's like I know this is the part I normally skip.
The glaze.
He was like, I saw them chops that you gave me. And I want them now.
Damn. Not Randy.
Service in the boiler and that sort of stuff. Like, yeah.
No, not Randy. Randy was
Servicing the
never.
boilers and... so yeah. Yeah. So when I look at that title, that I realize I'm the only reason you're carrying it in the first place, because you got your title shot at SummerSlam, because you beat me at King of the Ring, but you didn't really beat me at King of the Ring, did you? Everyone knows it. I know it. Hell, even Triple H knows it. That my shoulders weren't flat on the mat for the 1, 2, 3. If the referee's decision, I know it's the referee's decision and it's final. I've been here long enough that I need to respect that. But Triple H saw the footage and knows there needs to be a Gunther and Orton sequel. He's calling that in. Fans deserve a modern day Flair versus Steamboat. I know I can fill one of these roles, but the question is, can you? You call yourself a living legend. Well, I've made career out of killing legends. Gunther. Well, Randy, everything you said is true. And not beating you clean at the King of the Ring left a little stain on my record. So if those voices in your head tell you that you can beat me at Bash in Berlin, I have to tell you your voices are wrong. Randy Orton, I accept. Handshake.
I always think it's a little cringe when they do the voices in your head thing. Like, maybe it's just me, but it just feels a little cringy.
See, I don't think so. Only because it goes towards Randy Orton's character. So it's kind of like a little nostalgia trip almost. When
I'm only thinking of his theme song when I hear it.
Yeah.
I'm literally only thinking of his theme song, and I'm like, did you just reference his theme song? That's weird. I think it's just me, though.
I don't mind it.
It's a good song, though.
I heard it, and I was just like, don't do that.
Just to let you know, Randy, nothing catches me out of nowhere. Randy Orton says, it's good to know, but I've heard that before. And as a matter of fact, it doesn't have to be out of nowhere. I want to see it coming. That's what Gunther said.
Pause.
Gunther's going to be catching.
What?
He wants to see it coming. What? He said,
this stuff was
Gunther said, get it in my face, bro.
Give me that.
I want it, and I want it from the front.
Look at me in the eyes, Randy.
This does come off crazy if you think about it from any other way, but being a hardcore wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Randy, did you know my name was Gunther?
Oh, that looks so good on your German shoulders, those broad, strong German shoulders. I just want to polish your belt, and you'll see it coming when I give you the RKO straight to your face.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Nothing from behind from me.
If
checking that we're not in the 900s on our skybox right now.
If Gunther or Randy Orton ever makes an OnlyFans, that's got to make an appearance on there, surely.
Ah, man.
So we then went to we cut away from that segment and we went to our good old friend on this channel, Sheamus. We have spoke about him in massively high regards. There isn't a wrestler like him to ever walk on the face of this earth. There's not many wrestlers that can do it better than he can. So yeah, he had a 20-minute match with.
To be fair, it felt like 30.
I don't know what I just made that 20 minutes up. It could have been longer.
Okay, I'm gonna say it felt like 30 minutes.
I wrote 2 lines of notes from that match. One that Pete Dunne interfered, but got a big knee from Sheamus, and then Sheamus picked up the win. That's all I have.
Yeah. I remember it being one of those things where I was like, wait, how long is this going? And then, because I was like, all right, first match of Raw. I know the first hour was commercial free. I was like, this is that BS that I'd be thinking about. They would make the first hour free, but then make it so the first 30 minutes are a Sheamus match. And nothing against Sheamus. Shout outs to you, Sheamus, if you're watching this. But like, bro, you are like 47 years old. Like, I don't even think you want to do 30-minute matches. Like,
see, that's why they made the first hour commercial free, so that you could see Sheamus wrestle in all his glory, and
we
you
didn't
wouldn't
need
be
30 minutes of that. Like, most wrestlers shouldn't be doing 30 minutes for no reason.
Not
I'm
on a
gonna be
house
honest
show.
with you.
Like,
Not on a house. Not
yeah.
on like a house and weekly shows. Like, you shouldn't be wrestling for that long.
Exactly. It wasn't no title on the line. You guys weren't contending for anything. This isn't to determine anything.
There
This
wasn't
was just
any
an opener of
storyline.
Raw. No story. You guys don't even know each other as far as I know. But like, now you guys are just having this match, and it's like, okay, this would be great if it was 15 minutes. That would be like the max I would ever put this match between these two.
I disagree. I think they should have made it 45.
Yeah, I think.
Now you're killing it.
See, it would be one of those matches that 30 years down the line, when I have kids and when I'm showing them the wrestling, all the wrestling DVDs and all the wrestling of Leslie Year and all these legends, I'll go, I tell you what, one match that'll have you invested in wrestling for the rest of your life is for Monday on a Raw when Gunther facing Ludwig Kaiser, and then you'll be watching wrestling forever. I think it'd be one of those matches.
Yeah.
For the ages.
But alas, it seemed to be one of those matches where you forget most of the things that happened within it, except for really dumb things, which for me was I don't really like when people do the back and forth slaps to the chest for multiple things. Like, I can understand like, oh, I'm stronger than you, I could take more. But over the last month, I've seen Chris Jericho and that one Japanese guy do it in AEW, and they did it so hard that it was like Chris Jericho's chest was starting to bleed. It was a cool moment, but even then, that went on way too long. I remember it going to commercial break, coming back, and they were still slapping each other's chests. Like, it was insane. But then recently I've been seeing it more on a couple of WWE things where, even in SummerSlam, you saw like it wasn't too crazy, but the fact that they went it so like Gunther's chest was bleeding from the slaps to the chest repeatedly. Like, I guess if you want to add a little bit of color to this match without having anybody do like, oh, now I gotta, try to draw blood from myself. This is like a kind of easy way to, not easy, but it's a very entertaining way to do it. Slaps to the chest hurt, but if your chest gets slapped so bad that you're bleeding from it, as a pro wrestler, you probably can just take that. It's an easy way to add color to the match. But I personally don't enjoy it because it's like, okay, here's my chest, go ahead. Okay, here's my chest, go ahead. And it's like, all right, that's weird.
I think the reason why they do it is maybe because the crowd can kind of interact with it and go, ooh,
yeah,
ooh, like they can do that. But actually, going back to the match, if the best part of the match was when that match finished, that shouldn't be what you look forward to, and that shouldn't be the best part of the match when it finishes. So, yeah, I think the less we talk about that anymore, the better. So, 11 years ago in Baltimore, this is a really cool moment of the show because it worked out that 11 years ago was when they introduced the Wyatt family sort of story, and that was also in the same city that they did this week's show on. So 11 years ago, Baltimore, a prophet was unleashed. Cuts to the video of Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. The end of one journey is the beginning of the next. The circle moves us all through sorrow, hope, triumph, and agony, life and love until we let go, abandon all hope, and find our place on the path unwinding. We're here. The reckoning is here, running. Running? I'm adding. It says run. I thought that was a really poignant promo. It was kind of a little bit of a throwback to, because I know the whole idea of the Wyatt Six is kind of in memory of Bray Wyatt, but there hasn't been any kind of direct links to Bray Wyatt. There hasn't been a like, oh, we're all here because of Bray Wyatt. So actually, it was really nice for them to be able to mention him into the whole story of it.
They sort of did the tape where wasn't he saying that he misses his brother and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
They did do that.
They did do that. Yeah, you're right. But I think this is a really cool way of kind of drawing that bigger picture of things and saying the Wyatt Six. So saying that the Wyatt Six is around because of Bray Wyatt. So it kind of like linked those two. Marvel fans would say, as Marvel fans would say, it kind of links the two universes together. It's kind of that moment.
I get it.
Which is quite cool. The next part is what excited me about the whole show. This is the part that made the show what it was. Whoever wrote all this storyline for the Judgment Day, Dominic Priest, all this sort of stuff, deserves a raise.
Very good.
Of a massive amount, because as this story unfolded on the Raw, I don't think I've seen better storytelling on WWE TV for a very, very long time. So, yeah, that was, even, to be honest, I would even say it had the same sort of, when Bloodline was like really, really in the mix of things and it was this amazing story, I would say this potentially goes alongside it because of how exciting the whole storyline was over this course of this episode. So obviously, as we know, Damian Priest was kind of screwed over by Finn Balor, which is why he didn't have the title anymore. So Damian kind of come to the ring, started screaming, Finn Balor, you know what time it is, get down here and take this beating like a man. Is this for real? How do you go from being the prince to a backstabbing scumbag to a coward? You know where I'm from. You know my story. You know, most of my life I've been on my own. This wasn't until I found the Judgment Day. They give me a reason to fight. They made me feel like I belong somewhere. But last Friday at the premiere of my documentary, people had to say what I meant to them. And I see you all tonight. I hear you. I see you and realize that this is my family. Let's realize that my family has got a lot bigger. So Finn Balor, let me introduce you to my new family, points to the crowd. I'm not annoyed that I lost the title. I can get it back, but I'm pissed off that you took it all from us. You make me feel like I've disappointed my family. And for somebody like me, you know, I can't let that stand. Listen to me closely when you're suffering and the reason for your pain. So get your ass out here and let the beatings begin. I do think at the moment, as I was watching this promo, before his title reign, Damian Priest was still kind of a big character in the whole Judgment Day sort of things. But because Rhea was there, he wasn't the vocal point. The vocal point was Rhea. But then obviously as Rhea stepped away, he's become the vocal point of the Judgment Day. And I think actually that's propelled his career from maybe being a mid-card wrestler to being almost at the top of the tree. Like he's up there. And if he was placed now into the WWE Championship, like if he was, I wouldn't even be mad because of how good he is.
He already kind of proven he could be a good champ.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have a bad title reign necessarily at all. I think if anything, some people just weren't the biggest fans. They may have just thought other people deserved it, but nobody was like, he can't really even wrestle. He shouldn't deserve the championship. Like you've never heard that stuff. For me, it was like, I did find the promo, I found it interesting in multiple ways. One, it felt like his heel turn or his face turn was so smooth. It was like people they forgot all the fact that he was a heel for so long. They didn't even care. Once he started being like, I'm a man of the people were just like, yeah, you are. I love this guy for real. So it's like so easy for him to switch over, which most heels have to like do something. But he really didn't even have to do anything. He just kind of like won the title in a kind of a heel way, but just kind of was like, you know what? I actually like people. And people were like, you know what? I actually kind of like you too, bro. You know?
Yeah, I think in the wider picture of things as well, if WWE don't go handing out documentaries like nobody's business, like so they obviously hold him in real high regard as well because they've given him this documentary series. Like, yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Yeah,
Posh. We got
Posh,
Posh in the
how are
chat. What
you?
up?
Just I'll mention the football once and only. Posh didn't have a good day in terms of football yesterday. His team got, in wrestling terms, their ass handed to them. So
I think that's a football term too.
Yeah. So yeah, Balor then comes up on the screen as these sort of things always play out. It's often more impactful if the other person comes on the screen rather than stands at the end of the ramp for some reason.
I want to say really quick though, for me, the whole thing feels like it gives me a reminder of what happened with Batista, how Damian Priest kind of started off as just another guy within the group, kind of like winning tag team titles, and you weren't really like, kind of wonder what he's going to do next. And then out of nowhere, he kind of just gets a title shot, and people fall behind him. People actually like him. He kind of steps up, just like how Batista won the title and kind of stepped up within Evolution for a second, but obviously they had Triple H there. But this group doesn't have that Triple H character, and if anything, he kind of became that Triple H type character where he's now the de facto leader. Like for me personally, as somebody who wasn't a big fan of the Judgment Day before all this, it felt like he was the muscle, and then Rhea was the leader, and then it went from Rhea / maybe Dominic for just like circumstances purposes being the leader. Then it just was like, okay, he won a title. He's trying to become a leader, did it. And then, the group started hating on him for real. So it just, for me, it felt like this is a pretty good natural progression of where things would go in a situation like that, where maybe he's not actively trying to be the leader, but he knows he's big and tough. Then he goes out, does something, and he's not even like, oh yeah, I'm about to be a heel leader. He's the one guy who's like, guys, I know what we do here, but for me, I'm about to do this on my own. All right, so just leave me, just stay back. And that comes off as sympathetic for the crowd, because they're like, oh, he doesn't even want those guys to come out there and do that. He's actually pissed off about it.
See, as I've been thinking about this as well, like obviously as me and Kyle started this channel, I think me and Kyle have been quite vocal in saying that, oh yeah, we prefer the AEW product much more than WWE. But at the minute, I have to say that the WWE is just annihilating all the competition. Yes, they do normally anyway, but like in terms of their storylines, their growth now, I think it's becoming quite cool again to watch wrestling all of a sudden. Like it's not, lots more people are watching it. It's become like more of a common thing now. I'd even go back to the times like when I was growing up, when it was kind of your Randy Orton's, your John Cena's all coming up. It was cool to watch it then, but maybe that was again because you were like a teenager. But it was fairly cool at the time to watch it then. And since then, I don't think we've had a moment where it's been cool to watch it until now. Like this WrestleMania was the start of that, I think.
Vince had a thing where wrestling wasn't like wrestling became cool in the 90s for real, but then it died down, and it could have died down a little bit, but it wasn't too crazy because even in like the 90s, that's when you see people walking around with like Stone Cold t-shirts and stuff, and that wasn't like crazy. Early 2000s, you could still see people walking around with like a Rock t-shirt or something. It's not like crazy if it's a throwback, but like it was a time, and I remember it specifically because I was a wrestling fan and it turned me off, is when like I think it was like Vince McMahon's wife was running for politics in real life, and they wanted to make the show be able to have more advertising and stuff, and that's when they went the PG era started. And I think for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, that just ruined the taste of wrestling. Because one, we're coming out of the 90s and Attitude and Ruthless Aggression era, which is kind of like the peak of like wrestling, which you can consider hardcore. Some people might not like it, some people might love it, but it was an extreme version of wrestling that they were showing for the general public. So you go from that to being able to not even have blood on the screen. Meanwhile, they're still doing some things like ramming each other into the steel, and they're still having ladder matches, but now the ladder matches don't have blood, which is like, what even is this? Like you're kind of doing extreme stuff, but it's not.
I suppose as well at that same time when it was the Attitude Era and stuff, you had the extra dynamics of the whole Monday Night Wars and the whole ECW.
You had companies competing against each other to see who can put out their version of a product best. And it's like, you don't need everybody to do the same things. But if like, as much as I'm not the biggest AEW fan, I do enjoy the shows, but I'm not like, there are things that I can easily criticize about damn near every show that I've watched. But what you have to do is you have to go into your brand of wrestling and do that as best you can. So as much as I might not like reverse finishes for 30-minute matches for every freaking match that comes up, for the fans that like that, AEW needs to keep putting that out. They need to make sure that each match has however much runtime to it, however many specific reverses to it, all the stuff, and it might end with just nobody even uses their finisher. They just roll up somebody after using their finisher 30 times.
So I don't know. So I just thought of this comment, that this picture that I saw today, and I think it's quite poignant to what we said. So it says, I love WWE, I love NXT, I love AEW, I love Impact, I love New Japan, and I love non-televised wrestling. I love wrestling. Wrestling was not made to be a war. It was made to be so people can find a passion, just enjoy wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because I think that's the whole story arc that, like, a lot of kind of, I don't know, like the media takes, YouTube takes, social media takes. It's always, oh, well, WWE is not as good as AEW. AEW is better than NXT. NXT is better than New Japan. And all this, it seems like we're kind of getting misguided a little bit, and we're just kind of fighting rather than just watch the wrestling that I want to watch.
Exactly. As long as people are wrestling and the product is relatively good, like, I don't care how many brands there are. I think the more brands there are, I think it's just making it so, like, certain companies have to work a little bit better. Pretty much is everything that happens just puts pressure on WWE to become better, because if they don't got that pressure on them, then they might not succeed. But also, obviously, having a different creative mind in charge helps. You don't have Vince in there anymore, who has a specific mindset.
But then at the same time, before AEW, WWE didn't have any competition at all. There was just WWE and no one else. So actually,
for a while. But even like in the Ruthless Aggression time, like we always talk about how great the Attitude Era was, but Ruthless Aggression right after that, they still had to come. Like, it wasn't like the same, but they did have that pressure from TNA. I think once TNA went under is when WWE kind of started going like, let's just make John Cena win everything all the time. Like, who cares? We don't even got to worry about nothing else. Let's just have John Cena win all the time, whenever. Make him an 18-time world heavyweight champ. Well, meanwhile, the crowd is literally booing him because he can't wrestle good enough. I think that's when they were just like, we don't even have competition, so who cares? We can kind of just do whatever. And but like, for me, it was always just like, I like when there's like, I think that extra competition actually does make like the best better, and WWE needs that. I think they should, honestly, I think they should have been doing the thing where they were buying out their competition, but they shouldn't have been closing them. They should have been buying out the competition and then making sure the competition was actually better, because it would only make them better in the foreground. Like if they would have actually kept WCW up and just made WCW like an actual competitive thing where they were
I'm not sure though. I'm not sure because as time's gone on and as WWE took over ECW, WWE's ECW was absolutely dreadful.
No, but that's the problem. That's the problem. WWE tried to take over. I don't want that. I want them to purchase the company and let these people do their own thing. If Paul Heyman was just in charge, but WWE was just like, you know what, we own this. So, like, I don't know, here's all the money you need to make sure ECW can survive. ECW would have been incredible to this day. They may not have lasted, maybe not to this day. I think they would have lasted throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s and been great.
Yeah, they would have lasted till then, but like,
until something so crazy that somebody may have almost died happened on national television, they would have been great. Which I know that would have happened because Paul Heyman didn't really, and Paul probably would have stole a lot of money and not paid a lot of wrestlers.
See, I think ECW would have survived under Paul Heyman's leadership until we all became like woke and we all became kind of a little bit snowflakey and
until Vince. The only problem with the remake of it was that Vince actually had creative control over it.
Oh, it was dreadful.
If Paul still had creative control, it probably still would have worked out.
It breeded the worst pay-per-view in the history of wrestling.
Yeah. All because he wouldn't let Paul have control over his own company anymore because he's a very petty man, which we realized years later he was a monster. We probably should have saw the signs way back when.
Yeah. To not take this off into a completely different, but I think a lot of the times when people do horrendous things like that, the signs were always there in the first place. Like you see all these famous people.
Oh yeah.
Now, like as to done horrendous things. Like the signs were always there because, because of the position of power that they're in. If somebody comes and puts words against them, people go, "Oh no, it's not. That's not going to happen." Like because it's a lesson we're never going to learn. Unfortunately, I don't think. Time has shown us that. I think
we'll see.
We'll see. But I think time's shown us that we're not the best at that. But Balor came up on the screen and he said, "Damien, big man, I just want you to know that you brought this all upon yourself. I didn't betray you. You betrayed the Judgment Day. You know how it was supposed to be. We all have each other's backs. No leaders, but that all changed when you became champion. You went back on your word. A year ago, I almost became champion, and this happened." Showed a picture of, I can't remember what the picture was now, but it was what you said.
It was him trying to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase.
Makes sense now.
Yeah.
So he said, "You said to me in the car after that show, you said, Finn, it's time to man up. Well, I've waited and waited and waited a full year and I've manned up. I've screwed you over and I've screwed your family. Say you're from the streets, now you're just a loser from the streets. And I'm not going to fight you, but I know who will." So I was thinking, is he going to send like Braun Strowman out or like Great Khali or like one of Leicester year? But no, he didn't. He said that who's going to fight you is JD McDonough. I bet that Damien Priest was quaking in his boots at the thought of fighting JD McDonough. So JD will fight you. I'm going to wait until you feel safe, comfortable, and you've almost forgotten about me. And then when your back is turned, I will be there to stab you in the back again and again and again. And it won't just be me, it'll be all of us. Shoot to the promo where Carlito, JD, Dom, and Liv all stand behind him, like the new form Judgment Day, which I thought was really cool. So that was the first part of that saga. We had another match that was a really short match this time. We had Lyra Valkyria against Shayna Baszler. This ended in a disqualification from Sonya and Zoe Stark. Damage Control then came out to the ring to even the odds. Damage Control stand tall in the ring.
Which one of them is she had like black jean pants on, and I think she had like a kind of like a jean jacket or something, or like a leather jacket on.
I imagine that will be potentially
she was with the Skylar chick. She wasn't part of Damage Control. She was part of the other group.
Okay, so it'll either be it's probably Sonya Deville then. I think.
Yeah, I think that may have been her.
But yeah, that was just a nothing part of the show again.
Was she like a champ or something? She looked like she should be competing for like a women's title.
She did have a little bit of a run, I believe, but not too much of one. Because they all have like they're all kind of the same sort of wrestlers. They're all kind of like a UFC type wrestler that are like brawly types. So they're all kind of like the same.
I think for me, she was the one that kind of stood out with that Baszler group or whatever. It was just like, she kind of had a better look to her, where it was like, all right, she's kind of cute, but also she still looks tough.
I think they're repeating. I think the problem with that whole angle, they're repeating it just again and again and again. It's like one week, one will DQ, the other week, the next one will DQ, and it's just kind of those ones that they don't know where they're taking the story, so they're just carrying it on just to fill a little bit of time.
Yeah, it wasn't a great match though. I'll say that.
So we cut to the CM Punk promo next. Seemed like you had so much going on in an episode of Raw. You had the Judgment Day stuff, you had the Gunther and Randy Orton stuff, you had the CM Punk stuff, you had
this is all in the first hour too. So
it was so insane. So CM Punk came out really happy, which was bizarre. So he went on to say that in his promo. He says, why am I smiling? Why am I so happy? We'll get to that in 1 second. But before I do, I just want to take a real quick minute to shout out my good friend, Boel Mohammed, who won the UFC welterweight title. So UFC has probably told him, can you just go out and shout one of our title holders? And they're probably not even friends.
I'm going to say, did CM Punk even compete in the UFC? I don't think he made it there.
He did well.
I think he's made it to like the amateurs and like never even made it to actual UFC.
He had one fight in the UFC, I believe, which really did not end well.
I will say he's like the worst character to pick in UFC 4. If you ever play that game, he is available. He is like the worst player to pick.
So he has fought once and he lost once. He got choked out in round 1 of 3, wow. I would imagine, because it's normally every other fight, but the main event normally has 3 rounds instead of 5. So he got choked out in round 1 in 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
Okay, that's not even a long time. Matches are like 5 minutes per round. He got choked out pretty quickly.
And that was it. Then he decided to not do UFC anymore. He kind of like it was the equivalent of when you kind of really hurt yourself in school and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go home now.
It's hilarious because like Brock Lesnar debuted and came out with like such a great one punch. I remember watching it. He literally came out in his debut, punched the guy one time so hard that he like fell backwards. And like that kind of just like the rest of the match was kind of like whatever. Like Brock Lesnar was one of those guys where if he was standing, he was good. But if the moment you got him on the ground, ironically, he couldn't actually wrestle. So like he was like getting him into the leg lock. That was like literally everybody who I remember beating him easily got him in a leg lock after they got him on the ground and made him tap out. But like outside of that, he came in with such a fiery debut that it made it seem like, oh, more wrestlers should do this. Like, why aren't more of these guys competing in the UFC? And CM Punk proved to us why. CM Punk single-handedly stopped more WWE wrestlers from attempting to join the UFC.
The only person I imagine that will ever go down in both UFC potentially and WWE's history is Brock Lesnar, just because of like the impact that he had in UFC. But that's because of his size. That's not because of
exactly. Not because of his. It was not because of his talent. He was not like, oh my god, he's so talented. No, he came out there. People weren't prepared for him, and he beat the crap out of somebody. Not even beat the crap. He really just surprised the guy who actually beat him later on for the title. And it wasn't like, oh, he's the best guy ever. No, he fought like a normal guy.
Basically, it goes down like this. If they weren't in a UFC ring, he wouldn't have stopped until he killed that person. That's basically what happened.
I just remember, and then his next fight was like against an older guy who's almost retired. They kind of like set him up just to win the title. Like, be honest, they kind of like set him up perfectly to win the title, and then the moment he had to defend it,
it was maybe it's just to retire the other bloke, put him into an early retirement.
Exactly, because like after. And then after that, he couldn't even defend the title a lot. So it was like, he won, but it was like, and this would be cool if it was WWE, but this is UFC, buddy. Yes, you got to defend this bad boy a lot and be good every time.
Even when you look at even boxing, like as a title holder in boxing, you don't have to defend it that much. But like in UFC, there is a pay-per-view every single weekend. Pretty much. So, and like you see some guys that have got like 19 wins and 5 losses, and they're like 25, and you're like, what's going on? Like, and then that's without having their like amateur career as well, where they've been on the come up to UFC, like, and it's just nuts. I think that's the most active fighting sport there is. There isn't any other fighting sport.
Yeah, I would say so.
And actually, when you look at how much someone that does UFC and is really good, if you look at their wage compared to somebody that's top in WWE, it'll be worlds apart. That's the bit that I don't
get. It's one of those things, you know. Unfortunately, a lot of guys who like to fight for a living, they may not be the smartest people in the world. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be that guy.
But but I always think as well, like, yes, you do risk yourself doing wrestling, but you don't risk yourself anywhere near as much as you do going into UFC cage.
Exactly, it's crazy. Like UFC fighters are putting their literal lives on the line for thousands of dollars. That it's not even like all guaranteed.
Yeah, it's not. It's normally like they don't normally get a massive wage. It's normally like by fight basis as well. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Like it's
so
down to like sales of the pay-per-view and stuff as well, isn't it? It's just nuts when you think about it.
Exactly, and they have a lot of restrictions in the UFC where you can't do a lot of other things and you can't go into other ventures. So it's like, you know, it's gonna be tough, but that's why you get people and you get them to start doing it when they're younger before they start making money, or you get people who don't really make a lot of money. You give them slightly more than they ever thought they'd ever make, and then they'd be like, don't even think about all the people who do way less dangerous things that you could probably easily do because you're a UFC fighter. You know, don't think about joining WWE. They actually don't really want you.
In boxing and in WWE, they're like protected as well. So if any shit goes down, they're like, the medics are straight in, the boxing coaches are always there. But like, this is the bit that gets me. Like in UFC, you literally have to be your arm has to be falling off in order for the medics.
Pretty much, because also with knockouts are different. Because like with knockouts in boxing, it's like, all right, you get the 10 count and all the stuff. But like for UFC, you get the hit. They always have a follow-up hit when they're on the ground. Like, so they don't come back up because you don't know. I think that's the bit that really kills. It's like they always have that follow-up hammer hit because it's like, oh, even if they're down, what if they come back up or something? Or what if they're just trying to use a different form of martial arts, which requires them to be on their back, like jiu-jitsu?
It looks so barbaric as well, though, doesn't it, when you're watching it? because like they've knocked him out, knocked him clean out. They've done a spinning leg kick, which makes this person have knocked out. But then they're on top of him, just going.
Because the refs got to go in there and actually stop it. The refs got to the refs have to tackle them to be like, no, stop doing that. They're pushing them off and shit. They're just like, no, you can't even do that anymore. So yeah, I get that. That's UFC's another whole beast, and you got to think it's actually calm now. There used to be a point where there were no weight limits in UFC. In the 90s, and that's when it was actually crazy because you had like 400-pound guys fighting like 150-pound guys with like just like in UFC fights. A lot of those 400-pound guys got knocked out.
A bit like Braun Strowman and Hornswoggle locking up.
It literally, they had some of those type of matches. It was either extremely crazy where it was like, oh, David versus Goliath, or it was like one of the most brutal matches you've ever seen where a guy just gets freaking almost murdered in the ring.
Sounds like a real life Rocky film almost. Like,
yeah, with just as little blocking. Just imagine how it would work in real life if a boxer never blocked like Rocky.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have had 5-6 movies. They would have had one, and it would have ended with a funeral that was his own.
So whether he knows that person or not, we're not sure. So he said that obviously that I got a massive L at SummerSlam. Said I was going to go and do some things that I didn't do, but this is why I'm happy. I haven't been to Baltimore in over 10 years, and sorry, it feeds my ego when 10,000 people are screaming my name at me. Makes me happy. Losing didn't make me happy, but SummerSlam was not a guarantee. Baltimore Monday night was not a guarantee. You love me because when I get beat, I get back up. Some hate because I don't stay down. In January of this year, all that was taken away from me. Blah, blah, blah. Got me little violin out for him. He then talks some crap about Drew, saying I'm back. SummerSlam was just a start. Started from the bottom and went all the way to the top once again. More CM Punk fighting and less talking. He said that he was going to put me into ground while I'm still here fighting. Steph then comes out. You're in a good mood, but so am I. After 10 long times, it's time for me to put you in the dirt. Hey, I'm not the one that's dressed like a cowboy, but I will be your Huckleberry. Let's go. I thought that was a little bit weird. So then Drew comes.
That's actually pretty weird.
Yeah, it is. So Drew comes then from the crowd and he says, insert Scottish accent. Oh, Punk, guys, what is it with all this negativity? Tonight is a celebration. Everybody's talking about the biggest match in SummerSlam when Drew beat CM Punk and Seth counted. 1, 2, 3. Punk, I think I've deserved your attention. I'm going to say good things about your favourite topic, CM Punk. You shocked me. You shocked the world on Saturday. You bought the fight. You proved that you still got it. But you're no longer the best in the world. I am. Everybody go. Come on, guys. Are you going to stop staring lovingly into each other's eyes? Another Gunther and Randy Orton moment. Look into each other's eyes. Are you going to look over here? I know how to get your attention. Guess who's still in my corner, Punk? Your stupid-looking dog, Larry, and your lovely wife, AJ. Punk chases Drew. Then Big Bronson Reed comes in and annihilates Seth to the point where he had internal bleeding, was at the hospital for real. So Seth did kind of half fight back before he just keep getting dropped by Big Bronson Reed again and again and again and again, to the point, like I say, that they were giving medical updates from the hospital, and that doesn't happen very often, especially not in this day of wrestling. So that clearly went horrendously wrong for them.
Very interesting, I'll say that.
Yeah, it was. That's one of those moments that, well, it's going to happen, isn't it? Big Bronson Reed is a big guy. Like, he is a massive guy. Steph is someone that is very chiseled. So if that keeps landing on top of you again and again and again and again, then yes, your insides are going to be screaming and going, "This really hurts."
No, because I remember it wasn't Braun Strowman, it was another guy.
Bronson Reed.
Yeah, Bronson Reed. That's what. But like, I remember, I just remember watching. I was like, wait, are you guys gonna let him go up again? Like, because at a point he's like getting up on the ropes and he hits him with it, and then he gets up again and he hits him with it again, and then he gets up again and he hits him with it again.
Yeah, they
And
try
then
and stop him,
at
and then
this
he goes
point,
again.
no, stop, don't. But it's like every time he gets up, nobody's like, all right, now you seriously got to get down. They're like, no, you can't do that again. And then
And I think it must have been like at least 5 times
at minimum, because I felt like it was like 30 times in my head. Because I just remember being like, okay, I see him bleeding. Did they make him like, that's probably fake blood or whatever? But like, if that was real blood, then I'm like, okay, seriously, why didn't somebody stop him? Like, nobody threw up the X. Nobody looked at like Drew and was like, wait, you're not supposed to be bleeding out of your mouth. What's going on here? like nobody looked at anybody and was like, that's not supposed to happen. We talked about it. Maybe we didn't practice it, but we at least discussed it. We never discussed blood coming out of Seth Rollins' mouth.
It was shocking.
Maybe we should stop this.
It was shocking, and like WWE didn't do anything to protect him, which is a little bit annoying, like because I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's one of these things that we're never going to know if Bronson Reed did more than he should have, or whether he was told to do that many, but it just unfortunately ended the way that they didn't want it to end. So it's a weird one, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if he's doing the move properly, shouldn't he be able to do as many as he wants and not hurt the actual person?
Yeah, you'd thought so. But I don't really think. But the problem is, with a move like that, there's no way to make it any easier. Because if you're a big guy and you're landing on someone that's very small, there's no way to protect yourself. Like, really, is there?
I mean, I'm sure it's difficult, but isn't there like, I don't know, something he could be doing, or maybe like realize that like, okay, this is actually real life painful for him. Let me switch it up to see what else I could do to him.
Yeah.
Maybe I hit him with a leg drop or do a submission move where I could just like kind of make him tap out a bunch of times, but it doesn't actually cause internal bleeding for him.
Yeah, you would think so. But obviously, we'll see on the condition of Seth running into the things of the R. So
I just thought it was very comical at a point how many times he kept going up. At a point, it's just hilarious. Like, maybe he just saw the comedic timing in his head. It was like, it'd be hilarious if I do this like 3 more times.
Like one of those, it's like one of the kids programs where they have that like really slapstick fighting, isn't it? Where like massive karate kicks from the other end of the room, like traveling to the other side of the rooms, that sort of thing. So yeah, that wasn't. As I was watching it, I did feel a little like, as much as I was like, oh my god, not again. I did feel a little bit uncomfortable watching it. To be fair, I'm not like, as I was watching it, I was kind of going, I don't really think this should be happening anymore. Like,
I think I would have been more uncomfortable if you told me what you just told me before, which is that he actually was like really internally bleeding. Because in the moment, I was just thinking, he can't really be internally bleeding. This must be just kind of like a staged or fake thing. No, that now I do think it's like less comical. Even with that information, it is still kind of funny though.
Yeah, it kind of is. So moving on to the next part, we had the Authors of Pain against the New Day. This was a match that I wasn't looking forward to up until the ending. This big guy that's been in NXT before, been kind of on the fringes of the main roster. Did my research a little bit. Odyssey Jones came out at the end to help the New Day. He took out Karrion Kross, who knocked Woods out of the ring seconds before. New Day did pick up the win, and then Jones took out everyone basically. making himself look really strong. And I think that adds a dynamic to New Day that they've never had before. It probably makes New Day relevant again because they haven't been relevant for a very long time. So I think that's very clever by WWE. They're kind of reviving the tag team of the New Day by putting this big guy that's going to protect him in the matches. I don't think it's going to massively. I don't think New Day are going to be in the picture again. Like I don't think they are. But I just think it adds a different dynamic to their tag team that they've never had before. So I guess it's kind of what you would call clever booking almost. So yeah, that was that. We then cut to JD McDonough, who says, "Your gormless face really made me laugh when you looked up at that screen and saw the replay of what Finn did at SummerSlam. You really didn't see the train coming down the track, did you? You're arrogant. You're arrogant. You're blinded by it. You didn't see the only reason that you were champion for as long as you were was because the Judgment Day allowed it. I sacrificed my body to keep you on top. You never wanted me in the Judgment Day because you knew that I was the only person on this planet that Finn would listen to ahead of you. Now I can get my revenge as now I'm in the Judgment Day and you're out." Mic drop moment. There was then a pointless tag team match between A-Town Down Under and Awesome Truth. A-Town Down Under did win though, and that's literally all I have. Damian Priest then came back up on screen and says, "JD, this beating you're going to receive tonight is a long time coming. I'd never wanted you in the Judgment Day. Nobody wanted you in the Judgment Day apart from one guy. The same guy who I thought was my brother. The same guy who betrayed me on Saturday. It was crazy for me that somebody... it was crazy for me that somebody with a skull this big, you only have a brain like this."
I like that they mentioned that because his head is huge.
Yeah,
it needs to be brought up more.
Because you see, too stupid to realize that you've already been betrayed. You think you're going to be the one to take me out. No, Balor sent you here for me to cast the first bullet. He thinks that my clip is going to run out, but I've got enough in the chamber for his ass too. It's like this, JD. I hope you've confessed your sins yesterday, because tonight I'm sending your big-headed ass straight back to hell. Thought that was quite cool. That was kind of like almost sounded like a little bit of a promo from like the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era, where they would like actually make actual like references to their appearance, like things that would genuinely hurt you if you're having arguments. So the JD McDonough and Damian Priest match was up next. It was a really good match, to be fair. It was kind of 100 miles an hour. We're both going in at each other. Damian Priest was obviously on a warpath. There was a DQ because Finn Balor came in to stop the momentum of JD. DQ because Finn Balor came in to stop the momentum of JD. Dom and Liv then came out, and then they all go and beat up on Damian Priest.
Yeah.
Priest fights back and goes face to face with Finn Balor, goes for the Razor's Edge, but Liv pulls him out of the way. Then Dom goes to town. Out then comes Rhea. He's also on a warpath. They run away, but Rhea Ripley managed to get hold of Liv and slams her into the ring post, and then almost through the table, but Dom saves her. It was complete carnage. Like you didn't know where to look. It was great. And then in the ring, I thought this was really cool. So in the ring, Rhea and Dominic Priest are in the ring, and obviously JD is still there. Rhea like delivers a headbutt first of all, and then Dominic Priest hits us out of heaven. I thought that was really cool.
So I love that part, and I gotta say, one of the best headbutts I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
given on WWE, it looked real. I'm gonna be honest. I know. So I think what happened, I think she just actually just straight up headbutted him in the neck.
I think so.
And it was like, you can take a neck head. You can take that. You know, and it just came off so perfect. And Damian Priest, somebody got to talk to him. Bro gives the best choke slams I may have ever seen ever, and he just does it. First of all, they're like completely one-handed. I think it's the fact that he also comes down with the person. I think something about that makes it look so much more like impactful. It's like he goes up with it, but then they both come down together, and it's like, whoa, like that was like it's like always impressive. No matter how big the guy is, obviously he's strong too. So you imagine he can just pick up bigger guys and do that as well. But it's like, especially with the smaller guys, it's like how high in the air did old boy get before he came down? It was like legit insane the amount of air he got on that. So yeah, shout out to Damian Priest. I love the choke slam he does. It's one of the best in the game.
Yeah. Thanks for that comment. I believe that's somebody new in the chat. Byron Cutler. Thank you for coming in. Ready for Monday Night Morgan tomorrow. It kind of like his choke slam, because obviously everyone does the choke slam. It reminds me a little bit of when JBL used to do the clothesline. Like his clothesline was better than everybody else's.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a little bit like that because it's a move that's so common, but they just make it look like so much.
It's like it goes back to what we said earlier. You know, do whatever you do, just do your thing the best, and it's gonna work out. JBL just had a hell of a clothesline, and honestly, great heel character. I loved him. Damian Priest has a great choke slam.
We had another nothing match again. Sonya Deville versus Io Sky, because they took out Dakota Kai earlier. That she's not going to be able to wrestle, but out comes Io Sky and it's like, oh, I'm going to take you all on instead. Io Sky did pick up the win, and then I've put underneath, this was when on the show they then said, oh, just we've got a message from the hospital that Seth Rollins is in, he's got internal bleeding. And that was just like by commentary team, and I was like, oh, that's not
yeah,
good.
I think this is the point of the show where I was like, I think I gotta go make some food and take a shower and stuff.
So so we had the next kind of profile in the Wyatt Six. So this time we were on to Huskus the Pig Boy, which is a hell of a name. So the videotape this time was a person rocking back and forward on the floor, proper like Looney Tunes sort of person that they want to portray these guys as. So basically, this is a really short promo, this one. They said they thought they could control you, they lock you away, but I saw through their lies. Open the heart to the man in the woods, and now he will make them all pay for your sins. This next part is where I was hoping that no young children were watching this episode of Raw, because basically there was a massive jump scare where his like face came up on the screen really quickly while shouting letters in at the same time. So if any children or young children watch this, they're probably now traumatized. They've probably had dreams for weeks where that just kept replaying in their head. So it was quite fun for me. But I just imagined if there's anybody else watching it with maybe a nervous disposition or heart condition, they would have probably, it wouldn't have been good for them. So we then got to the main event, which was the Wyatt Six versus American Made. This was really cool because Uncle Howdy was kind of sat on the outside of the ring with Nikki Cross, just sat like watching the match. It was a 3v3. So yeah, obviously it was a 3v3, but American Made kind of got pushed to the outside of the ring, and you cut to a bit where like Uncle Howdy and can't really give a name now, Nikki Cross, were just kind of looking at them and kind of laughing, which I thought was great. The match hadn't started at this point, so the bell did then ring. Gable running away and tagging Creed straight away, then just followed a complete annihilation by Wyatt Six. which obviously we knew this was going to happen because you can't have them like not looking anything like a monstrous tag team that they obviously are. So then they go on to win. So that was Monday Night Raw. We had spent 1 hour 45 minutes talking about that one episode, which shows how good it was. I think like
3-hour show, man. We did half the time.
Yeah, that's true. Just gonna quickly, very quickly run over NXT Great American Bash Night 2. We had Pete Dunne, Trick Williams. Pete Dunne won that match. Was a great way to start the pay-per-view. We then had Tatum Paxton, Kalani Jordan, which was the match of the night for me, for the women's North American title. Lots of high flying, great spot when Tatum went underneath the ring. Kalani lifted up the cover and there was like a little doll of Tatum. She then crawled from the other side of the ring and took a punch to her. Wendy Chu came out at the end and picked up the doll of Tatum and just stares at it. Kalani did retain though, so it's a really good match. Ethan Page fought Aura Mensah for the NXT title. It was really weird because you had the NXT title match in the middle of the pay-per-view and not the main event. It was bizarre. They were both able to show off their skills, and it's put Aura Mensah in the NXT picture. Ethan Page did retain the title, but Aura Mensah came out strong as well. Didn't enjoy this one as much as the North American Championship match, though. We had then had Joe Hendry. The match was okay. Obviously, the crowd made it more. Joe Coffey looked good, but obviously Joe Hendry was the main event for this match. Booker T responded as to why Joe is so popular, and this made me laugh because he said, "It's that damn song, man. I was singing it in the shower the other day." So I thought that was a really cool moment.
So for me, every time I hear Joe Henry, and you guys may not get the reference, it reminds me of Joe Danger so much. And if you guys,
that is.
Okay, it's a video game that was out like 10, 20 years ago, maybe, called Joe Danger. It was just a guy who was like one of those on a bicycle doing stunts. And he would just like you just play the game trying to do as many tricks as you can, but he wore like a red, all white with red stripe outfit, similar to like how Joe has that like all white but with orange. I don't know. It's just like it's just the name Joe Henry, Joe Danger. I don't know why. I just confuse. I conflate the two together, and I'm like, he just reminds me of Joe Danger now. They don't look alike.
He's on a massive come up. I do think he'll get signed to NXT pretty soon, and won't be under TNA's books anymore. So we then had Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray. They were with two teams as well. This ended in Ren Sinclair becoming a member of the No Quarter Catch crew, and it earned Dempsey a Heritage Cup next week as well. So, and then it was the NXT Tag Team titles, Nathan Fraser and Axiom versus MSK. I feel that it could have been a massive build up to this match in terms of storyline. It was kind of what some would call like a dream match to see all these people wrestling together. It was okay, but it wasn't anything like special. We also found out that in September there would be NXT No Mercy. So they're doing well at taking all these old pay-per-view names and just putting NXT in front of them.
No Mercy.
Yeah.
I used to love that game, so shout outs to it.
Yeah, all those old like wrestling games of that time were just insane. So then quickly going on to AEW, MJF started off the show versus Carl Fletcher. It was a really good match to start the show. MJF, so Don Callis threw in a screwdriver to CR7 FTBL. It's just got my name, which is slightly frightening. Saying the fact that I don't really know who that is. But if I do know who you are, if you could reveal yourself, that would be great. Either that or I've got a stalker, which who knows, maybe it is.
Either way works.
Yeah, either way it works. They're tuning in, that's the main thing.
I imagine it's Christian Ronaldo. Is he number 7?
Yeah, maybe it's the Cristiano Ronaldo. Maybe he's just decided to tune in and watch the.
Yeah.
Now,
this is Christian Ronaldo football. 'Cause that's like FTBL.
There's now 2 highs.
Wow.
Okay. Hi, whoever you may be.
Hello, Mr. Ronaldo.
So Don Callis kind of threw a screwdriver in for Carl Fletcher.
I need Robux 20. What?
So Kyle Fletcher was throwing a screwdriver into the ring.
Yeah.
But Carl Fletcher threw out the screwdriver. So, but then obviously the ref was distracted because the screwdriver was thrown in. So the dirty old man that MJF is, he just kind of low blowed him, and he picked up the title again. So yeah, that was that. Mariah May then absolutely annihilated someone called Viva Van, set up the All In clash with Tony Storm. Oh, hey, look at this! I've got a big fan. Wonderful.
Oh, he's a big. That's crazy.
Big fan.
Huge fan. He watches every week.
Nice.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Big fan and wants 20 Robux.
I know. Which makes me a little bit concerned. If they need 20 Roblox, it makes me a little bit concerned regarding their age, to be honest. But there we go.
As a football player,
what is happening in this chat right now? I'm so confused by everything.
My sister too.
Yeah, I'm gonna ignore. I didn't see that. So because that could get me all levels of cancel.
Yeah, to be honest, you're being a little weird right now, CR. We love you, but relax. Yeah. Let's talk about some wrestling stuff.
I do really enjoy doing this every week, so I do want to keep it up. So then Brian Keith fought Shibata. Shibata then won. Hook comes out. It was a big pop because it's the first time he's been back in a little while. Jim Ross sat down with Swerve Strickland. Jim Ross saying how excited he is that everybody should be about the main event. Swerve saying that he'd lost last year at All In, and being an event, this main event the year after, it's kind of a massive thing. Swerve then gives Bryan Daniel praise. I also thought during this whole segment, I know Jim Ross is struggling with his health, with kind of he had a condition where he had temporary paralysis in his face and stuff. But as he was doing this segment of the show, he looked really, really unwell. Obviously, credit for him to be still carrying on doing what he's doing whilst going through all these things. But he didn't really look well. And actually, I was watching it and I felt fairly uncomfortable.
I believe he had a stroke at a point.
Yeah, so I was reading up. He had some sort of reaction to something which made him have temporary paralysis in the side of in half of his face. So you could see it during this segment. But yeah, he just didn't look very well. So it wasn't nice to watch, really. So Jim Ross says it's the toughest match that you're ever going to have. Swerve kind of plays it down and kind of says, I'll beat him All In. His legacy will then belong to me. There was a match between Orange Cassidy and FTR and Rush, Roderick Strong, and the Beast Mortis, where FTR and Orange won. But during that match, the more interesting thing was that there was going to be a casino gauntlet for All In, which gives the winner a future title shot, AEW. So I believe there's one match that's to win the first entry, and that's next week. This person is from the UAE.
What is that?
The United Arab Emirates, I believe. Ryan, am I saying that right?
Oh,
I think so.
okay. Hey, shout outs to the UAE.
So it's the place that like surrounds Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I believe.
Oh, I've heard of the
that's cool.
airlines.
So somebody's watching from that far away, which is absolutely nuts right now. When you actually think about that, like when you actually sit there, and I go, do you know what? Like somebody from that corner of the country, that corner of the world, is watching me sat in my bedroom talking stuff about wrestling. It just blows your mind a little bit. But there you go.
One of my favorite subs, and I don't like to play favoritism too much, but he already knows, is an Italian guy who watches pretty much all of my, especially the religious content. Gives me, every time I do a live stream, he comes in there giving me some great facts. Shout out to Sylvia. But yeah, it's always crazy knowing that, like, dang, there's like a 6-hour difference over there. And it's like this dude's just like some random Italian dude who just found my videos and just started watching them. Like, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's not, when you sit and think about it, like, it's just crazy.
It is.
But yeah, so the Acclaimed then came out and talked a little bit rubbish. Then FTR jumped on and say, I think basically what's going to happen is that FTR and Acclaimed are going to have a match All In, and that's how it's going to end. There was a little bit with Mercedes Moné, and because she's got someone that's going around with her now called Camille, she took people on 2-on-1. And so yeah, Monet kind of says like all the normal stuff, like I'm the EST and whatever. Like she's really doing my head in a little bit because all of her promos are kind of like the same now. I don't really think she's adding much to AEW in terms of like actual in-ring talent or on the mic. Like I just think she's there at the minute just because she's a big name. I don't think she adds anything to AEW with her being there or not. That might upset some people, but it's just a little bit like that. So Tony Khan has then overruled the Elite and lifted the suspension of Britt Baker. Britt Baker comes on the satellite. You can't stop me, and all this. So she starts to go on about all the things that she's going to do to her at All In, and I am fairly excited for that match. But it's because of Britt Baker. It's not because of Mercedes Moné. It's because of Britt Baker coming back in, and hopefully she beats the life out of him and wins the title. But we'll see. So Jeff Jarrett then went on to fight Bryan Danielson, and then special guest was.
I didn't know Jeff Jarrett was still like an active wrestler.
Yeah, and then Ricky Steamboat was kind of the special guest for this match. I don't really know what he added to it. He kind of just stood there. He didn't even say anything, really. He just kind of was there because he's a legend, which is fair enough. Like, but he just didn't really do much. So this was kind of like an anything goes sort of match. So it kind of was going all around the arena. They did stuff with trash cans and bottles and chair shots and the normal sort of average stuff that you see. Bryan Danielson does beat him, but not very well, like not very convincingly. Like if you look at it in one way, somebody like Bryan Danielson should be absolutely annihilating somebody like Jeff Jarrett. No disrespect to Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah. Everything I said about Sheamus earlier in this same episode, I'm gonna triple that when I talk about Jeff Jarrett He's old, guys. This guy has got to be like in his 60s or something right now.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett has been wrestling since the early 90s. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we like? That's why I'm like, I didn't know he was still active. Not because he's not good, but because he's old. I thought he would have like retired or something.
57 years old.
Yeah, he's almost
57
60.
years old.
We're just gonna round up and say he's 60. He is a 60-year-old man right now wrestling. Like, yeah, of course Daniel Bryanson should be beating the crap out of him. It shouldn't even be fair. Like,
so it was a bit weird because it doesn't really, because obviously Bryan Danielson has said he's going to step away from wrestling if he loses this match. So really, you don't want to make him look absolutely terrible before going into that match. Is basically what they're doing. So Swerve then comes out and kind of says, "Oh well, if that's what Jeff Jarrett's going to do to you, then just imagine what I'm going to do to you all in." So maybe it's just for storyline purposes, but it just seemed a little bit pointless. So yeah, AEW is pretty non-existent. Like, it is what it is. They've just got a couple of weeks now where they're building up to All In, and they are going to be a bit of a lull point now until All In, because obviously that's what they're building up to.
what day is all In? Is how many weeks away?
So not this weekend. So this weekend. So next weekend.
Okay.
It is the last weekend before it. So it's in 2 weeks' time.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess you want to start building some stuff up, but like, I'm sure there's some things you want to kind of like build up to within the next 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. So there is still space for at least 4 or 5 more matches, but they have 2 shows in Cardiff, which are next week. So they'll probably, to have something special at the Cardiff shows that are like one-offs, they'll probably save some stuff till then, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, at least one new thing got to pop off that week, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh no. So sorry. They'll have a normal AEW on Wednesday, and then next Wednesday, so the Wednesday before All In, is the one when they're in Cardiff.
Okay. I still think next week they should do something, or like this upcoming week, they should start something.
I think next week we'll know the first person that's entering the Casino Gauntlet, the Gauntlet match, and we'll know the person that's entering at number 1. We'll also they'll probably get the FTR and Acclaimed match announced, and then they'll probably save the rest until Cardiff potentially.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've seen an All In. What was the last? I remember us watching an event last time where like Chris Jericho got dice thrown at him and stuff.
Yeah, so All In happened for the first time in London last year. So it was exactly the same time last year as it was this year.
What was their event like 2 months ago?
So I don't think that we'd actually got, the channel wasn't made at that point.
You remember when they were in Vegas? It was like earlier this year.
Double or Nothing, I think it was called.
Oh, is that what that one is? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are all their events named after gambling? Like Double or Nothing, All In. Like, what's going on here?
Well, they announced that they're going to have Wrestle Dream again, which is going to be, I saw that on my socials today. That's a really good one. It's like where they get sort of like wrestlers that it's like basically the title names in the title, Wrestle Dream. They kind of like put together dream matches.
I think the thing I'm looking forward to seeing the most, and I'm going to complain about it the whole time I'm watching it, but one of those where they get into an empty football stadium and just fight each other.
Oh, Anarchy in the Arena?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had one of those last year at Wembley, so I doubt they'll have another one, to be fair.
I'm looking forward to seeing one of those again. I don't like them, but they are very entertaining for not the right reasons.
I'll go back and find last year's. So I'll go back after this and I'll find you the video of last year's one that was at Wembley, because that was so cool. So yeah, then we've just got SmackDown to talk about really quickly. So Cody started the show thinking of who he'd like to defend his title against. He was stopped by Solo and the Bloodline coming out. Solo's like, I don't care what you want to talk about. I don't care what people want to hear. What I want to talk about is SummerSlam. And if it wasn't for Roman, I'd be the new title holder. Cody said the same SummerSlam where you couldn't get the job done on your own. So he basically said, yeah, you're not getting your rematch. Then Kevin Owens came out because he called him out and basically said, you're the next person that's getting a shot at the title. Kevin Owens said, I don't deserve it. And there was a whole back and forth. But then eventually Nick Aldis, they had like a little argument. Nick Aldis was like, oh, well, you weren't in the picture. It was going to be Roman Reigns that gets a title shot. Kevin Owens then went absolutely nuts about it. It's like, oh, what's he done to deserve it and all this stuff. And he's like, actually, no, I'm going to give it to Kevin Owens now after you've argued a little bit. So A-Town Down Under faced the Street Profits for the chance to wrestle in a match for the number one contender for the tag team title. Street Profits won that one. Jade Cargill beat Alba Fire. That was a nothing match. LA Knight came out and basically said he's looking forward to. I'm looking forward to LA Knight's run because I think there's going to be some good matches in that run. He just basically saying, "Long last, I've arrived and become champion." Santos Escobar came out. And they went back and forth. Basically, it ended in Andrade and Santos Escobar for the number one contender for the title. Santos Escobar picked up that one. There was then the second part of the number one contender for the tag team title match, where it was DIY and Pretty Deadly. DIY then went up to pick. DIY went on to pick up the win. Solo then came to the ring, and then the chance was, we want Roman. And then Roman Reigns, in case you didn't notice, I'm the tribal chief now. If you call yourself the tribal chief and want these back, then come and get it from me. Roman came in, basically beats up on everyone. And then the Samoan necklace is left in the ring. Roman kind of picks it up, but then he's blindsided and gets beat up by the Bloodline. It's passed back to Solo and the beatdown continues. Then Roman comes back and gets rid of them both, sending a message to Solo. So obviously we're going to get a Solo and Roman match down the line. It will probably be like, oh, whoever wins gets control of the Bloodline back and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's it in terms of what's happened in the wrestling world. We have got a little bit to add on though, because unfortunately last week we had a passing in the world of wrestling. I have Lee that sent in a video just to take you through Kevin Sullivan, who unfortunately passed away last week.
R.I.P.
And Lee's going to talk a little bit about him for you all.
Hello everybody, Lee from Goon the Gathering here. Sam's asked me to jump on the stream today briefly to talk about the late Kevin Sullivan, who passed away at the age of 75 this week. Sullivan, born in 1948 in Cambridge, Massachusetts, best known for his time in WCW as a talent and as a booker. There's a couple of stables to talk about here where he formed the Three Faces of Fear in the effort to end Hulkamania, if only, eh? We formed the three-man team of himself, Ed Leslie, Bruce the Barber Beefcake, and Avalanche, John Tenta Earthquake. And they went against Hogan, Randy Savage, and Sting. When that feud came to a finish and Hogan overcome the all odds like he does, I think we're talking about 1995 now. That is the time period where we had the infamous Hogan segment where there's no Hulkamaniacs here. We're talking about the launch of the Dungeon of Doom, basically an excuse where Hogan got all his mates in from WWF. We're talking about Kamala, Barbarian, Meng, One Man Gang, Big Bubba Rogers, Big Boss Man, and the Giant. Yes, and Sullivan, known as the Taskmaster here, tried to make Hogan's life a living hell, of course, which ended up in a War Games match. The other thing to talk about, when he sort of come towards the end of his career, he was one of the bookers in WCW. Ended up having a very short but very notable match. This was quite a strange one. It's supposed to be a strap match with Flying Brian Pillman. And for about 45 seconds to a minute, they ended up brawling around the ring before Pillman grabs the microphone and says, "I respect you, Booker Man," and left. Completely going up against the script, I think, which led to Pillman getting the sack and eventually ending up on ECW programming. Of course, I do want to touch on the fact that Kevin Sullivan was married at a time to Nancy, or the WCW character Woman, and they ran a storyline which ended up becoming mimicking life, where Nancy had come into an affair with, of course, Chris Benoit, and that sort of got into an extent where they were travelling together, being seen together and everything. Of course, as they got closer, things sort of changed in the relationship with Kevin Sullivan, and they ended up being divorced, and we know how that ended up. But yeah, that is sort of briefly summing up what I know about Kevin Sullivan. He definitely will be missed in the wrestling community as a talented performer, but maybe more of a good mind for the business, and a lot of fun storylines in terms of the Dungeon of Doom business. So yeah, that's me out here for now, guys. Thank you very much for watching.
Wow.
And
I will say, I learned something there.
Yeah, I did. That's why I always get, like, because obviously Lee, with his Guna Gathering stuff, he has to do like the same level of notes that I have when he like hosts his shows and stuff. So that's why I always get Lee on the case with those, because he does, like, the bits that he doesn't know, he goes away and finds it. So appreciate it as always, Lee, for jumping in and helping us out. That saved me from doing any more notes than I already did. So yeah, that was like I said, I said to Kyle, I've always wanted to, as far as we possibly can, obviously we cover the wrestling currently, but we always have to speak about the people that paved the way in terms of what we've got at the moment. So yeah, that's something I've always wanted to do. So,
and remember, Sam, I'm an in the moment guy. I don't do too much research, but I come with it on the spot.
So yeah, that's going to be the end. I'm ready to eat something. I'm ready to just. Oh, I was going to watch the closing ceremony of the Olympics, but I think it's almost over now. And
hey,
if it's
shout outs to the USA, we came, we conquered. Basketball is our game, men's and women's.
Did you end up topping the medals or not?
I don't know, because I don't, man. I've been watching the competitions I've actually been able to watch myself are always like the rowing competitions and stuff. And I will say, America's not doing great in those. They've lost like every single one I've watched. You guys actually won like one of them, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we tend to do quite well in rowing because it's something that we can do in this country. Whereas like things like beach volleyball, we're never in the beach volleyball.
No.
We're also never in the basketball. We're never in the 3x3 basketball or the normal basketball.
I didn't even look at 3x3.
we're never in the handball competition. We don't play that here, unfortunately. Although it is what? Oh, you did top the medal total.
Yeah, and it looks like we tied for gold.
So you tied for gold, but then your silvers and bronzes are double what China had in second.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at the table today in terms of like you've got the USA and China. USA collectively won 126 medals. China collectively won 91 medals. That's first and second.
Yeah.
And then third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh are 45, 53, 64, 34, 65. So that
I think that those guys are just getting ranked by, because I feel like they're just ranking them mostly by golds.
They're ranked completely by golds.
Yeah.
Unless you join. So if you join gold,
because I'm be honest, I would be starting to look at some of the totals right here, and I know like US still has an impressive total, so it don't matter either way. But like, I think it's a little bit more impressive to have like 65 total versus Australia with 53 total. You know what I mean? Like,
then lower. Yeah.
You're only being separated by 4 gold medals, but there's like that still means there's like like 8 other medals that you guys won over them.
So Netherlands in the place above us. So Netherlands had 34 in total, and we've got 65 in total. Yet.
Exactly.
Like, doesn't really make much sense.
You got like 3 times their amount of silvers, more than double the amount of golds, and or bronze, but they only got 1 more gold than you, and they're like, oh well, Britain is 7. Like, no, Britain should actually be 6 right now.
It's bad. It's bad, isn't it? Because like in terms of Olympics, you want to win the gold medal. But if you win a silver or a bronze, you've still done something amazing, something that lots of people won't ever do.
This is all France, man.
Yeah, but by looking at the rankings tables, you would basically think that silver and bronze don't mean anything at all. Like that's what you're doing the rankings like that. So it's not great.
I think it gets a little bit tricky as well towards the bottom, where like all the worst. Like they all have 1 gold, 1 bronze, and that's like the only thing they won was 1 bronze. So it's like, how can you really say Peru's better than Qatar if they both only won 1 bronze?
See, obviously when I watch the Olympics, there's lots of like competitions and stuff that our athletes are in, but I don't imagine in Qatar or Zambia that they've ever got athletes that do really well, because it would just be really annoying, wouldn't it? Watching.
I mean, you got to figure out what your country's good at. So, like Zimbabwe, they may be like, "All right, we don't have everything, but we can." Or Zambia, they may be like, "All right, we get 1 bronze from running, and then we focus on that." Also, what is the refugee Olympic team? Like, who is that?
The what?
The refugee Olympic team? They're just an Olympic team full of refugees? Where do they? What country do they represent? Just all of the Olympics? Do they live in the Olympic Stadium? They got 1 bronze. So shout out to them, though.
Why is there? The creation of the refugee team was designed to send a message of hope to millions of refugees around the world, and it was done quite recently. It's like, I think this is probably the first time they've competed, potentially. So yeah, that's that.
Hey, that's cool. I just didn't know that they existed. Or so are they all? I'm assuming they're all refugees. Like,
yeah.
Do they get to live in a place now? Like, they don't have to go back to the country they're like trying to leave, right?
Got no idea. Absolutely no idea. the basketball, just quickly before we go, the basketball was absolutely nuts yesterday. France were like pushing USA to the wire, and then Steph Curry was like, do you know what? Like, I don't want this to happen. Just posted up like 3 threes, like literally threes for like 3 possessions. It was nuts, absolutely nuts.
Crazy thing, I've seen Steph Curry play in real life. It does look like a video game at a certain point. He's just too good. Even if you watch him do the warm-ups, they don't usually show it on TV. But if you watch Steph Curry do his warm-ups, he does this thing where he just takes the craziest 3-point shots of all time. And then before he goes back into the tunnel, he does another 3-point shot from the tunnel, which is like further than any other shot from a crazy angle. So he like does that before every game and then goes out there and just does his thing. Also seeing LeBron, I've seen LeBron play in real life because I'm from Cleveland. It's incredible. It's like magic. It's literally like magical seeing people like that.
You see the French guy, I can't think of his name now, literally dunk over LeBron, which was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I saw the highlights of that. Now, I'll give LeBron a little bit of leeway. And it's the same thing I'll say about Sheamus. LeBron is old, guys. LeBron has gray hairs in the Olympics. I've never seen LeBron have this many grays before. It just like, I remember him having like a beard full of black hair and stuff. And now I just looked at a photo of him recently and I was like, wait, what? Nobody's talking about how like LeBron hair is so gray. But then I was like, wait, no, they wouldn't be talking about it because it's normal because he's old. And he's still doing the thing, which is actually impressive. So, hey, you dunk on him once, but what does that lead? That leads us to winning by like 12, 14 points or something like that. Because we got the squad did it. They came out. I don't even think they utilized the team the best way, to be honest with you. I don't know why we have people who barely played in the Olympics, and like the only people we consistently know played are like Kevin Durant, LeBron, and Steph Curry.
There was a massive gulf of like talent in the USA team to the French team as well. Like the French team had a couple of players that literally ran the show for them all tournament, whereas USA are so well rounded. Like, but there's a reason. There's a reason why they go into most Olympic competitions and win them all. Like, there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, also like, I ain't gonna say there's anything rigged here, but France made both the men's and women's finals. I gotta look at some of those games or something. You know what I mean? Like the women's, I'll give them that because they literally lost by 1. Because the one chick stepped on the line when she shot the last shot, which if she would have shot that from 3, I believe that would have went in too, and they would have went into overtime.
The point, like the foul, like the point line conversions for the French was like they scored 8 in like 17 attempts. Like it was shocking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it's rigged, but they did go, it's a little crazy how both the men's and the women's made it. Clearly the women's was a little bit better, but also like, the Wemby was on the men's team, which is a big name. And so even in America, he's a big name.
There was Wembanyama and there was the guy that posted over the top of
like, I don't know who that guy is though. I'll tell you that. I know they had the Rudy Gay or something. No, what's his name?
There was the French guy was like, he actually scored more than Wembanyama last night. Basketball team.
Yeah, Wembanyama was a little bit disappointing last night. But, he a kid, bro. Kid's like 19 years old, so super impressive, though. The fact that he even made it to the Olympic team, well, for France, at least. I'm pretty sure that's still impressive.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the end of today's show, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been in there the whole time, it's been a long one. But yeah, see you all on the next one. Oh, quickly, Devon and Ryan. Do you want to say probably Ryan first? You got to jump off. Thank you for coming on. Is there any way you'd like to tell people to go and follow you and stuff?
Yeah, cheers, guys. Appreciate you listening to the stream and stuff like that. But yeah, I've got nothing else to shout out. Just that keep an eye out on Wrexham this season. Hopefully, we'll at least get top 10.
Hey,
all right,
Wrexham.
take care, guys.
Take care, Ryan.
See you,
Great seeing
Devin.
you.
And see you, Sam. Probably see you in a couple of weeks' time, or whenever I can get on next. Because next Sunday I'll be on night, so if it's on then, it'll probably be within the next 2-3 weeks. I'll be on next.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye.
All right. And for me, you can just go to that, click on that right there. Or don't click on it, but type that in. Type in that name, DEVONRUCKER. Type it into Google, type it into YouTube. You'll find me and subscribe. You know, but that's the cool part. There's going to be a lot of content. I'm working on the video right now. That'll be coming out, and I'll give you guys a hint why I would have survived the Oregon Trail. Now, I know you guys may have seen the video I did on why you guys would have died in ancient Egypt, but I actually explained throughout the video why I would have survived throughout ancient Egypt. It's a very similar concept. You know, most of you guys would have 100% died on the Oregon Trail. 1,000% got dysentery. It would have been horrible for you. But obviously, I would have survived. You know, all I needed to do was be a carpenter. You can translate those skills into everything else in the world. You're a carpenter. You might as well be a doctor. I can sew. I can cut wood. Why can't I cut legs and sew things up? Don't even think about it too much. You know, if I can be a carpenter, why can't I build a bank? And if I can build a bank, why can't I run the bank? You know how many nails it takes to buy things. You know, when you nail minus 3 nails, that's like cash, bro. Just don't even think about it. Somebody gives you money, just take it and then give them the change. How difficult is it to run a bank? So if I'm a carpenter, I can do all that stuff, which means I'm going to be rich already, which means I can easily get through the Oregon Trail, guys. It's not even going to be a problem with my carpentry skills.
Look out for that one.
Yeah.
A little bit of dysentery on a Sunday evening sounds like great fun.
Well, that's what you got to solve. Don't drink brown water, guys.
Yeah.
I know it's tempting.
Brown water, it's the least of the problems in the UK at the minute because they think our drinking water is generally not very good for us to drink anymore.
It probably wasn't good from the beginning, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to drink bottled water. You got to drink nothing but was that Aquafina and Dasani's.
Yeah, let's all have a shit in the woods with our purification bottles and make sure our water's clean and stuff. Like, yeah, exactly. I'm not down for that. Like, so yeah, that was us rambling on for nearly 2.5 hours. So yeah, Kyle's got another massive video in the works. I don't know what it's about, although I do know it's a very big one again. So yeah, bear with him.
Can't wait.
Those videos take a long time to not only write the script for, but to edit and kind of put together, and then make sure they look right, and then upload it. So yeah.
The last one was great, though. I told him already, but I really enjoyed that Undertaker one.
Yeah, I spoke to him today, and I just said that like people would rather see quality and wait a little bit longer than for us to throw out loads and loads of videos and do them as quick as we can just to get them out. Like if they take a little bit longer, but they're going to be the level of the Undertaker one, then that's what we do. Like I've said, I think that's it. I think we're in a world where people just want to get 6 videos on in the day, but like it's impossible to to have that levels of video and make them all really good. So I think this is what we're trying to do, is to make our content thought about, put together, and then it looks better for your watching eyes. So yeah, that's that really. Obviously, you know where to find us on Patreon and stuff. You know where to find us on Instagram. Next week we'll be just doing a all-in stream. It won't be Sunday; it'll be Monday. So yeah, see you then. Bye everyone.
Go. Bye.